Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Swan Pricing Show, where we talk about pricing that is different with expertise than with let's say commoditized services. Once again, my name is Filip Fucic. I'm a pricing mentor, and I work with solopreneurs to help them to charge more for the value that they already provide. And my co-host is Filip as well.
Yeah, I'm Filip Zolota. I am the founder and the owner of Growth Marketing Agency Mojo, and also having my consultancy practice, helping other businesses to scale.
Cool. So could you bring us into our topic today?
Sure. We had in our previous a podcast discussion about situations which happen when a specific person, expert, is in the position where that person is feeling comfortable, meaning having enough of projects ongoing, on the spot, on the table, handling, managing everything. So kind of feeling and presenting themselves semi-cocky or cocky because they don't need additional projects, additional work, and similar. But also, we all know that business is not always according to our wishes. Things can happen and go other way around. And simply in some situations and positions, you can lose a project, something can go downstream, and you get to the stage where you need additional project. I have also immediately one example. One of my colleagues and friends, who is a developer, once several years ago, I was asking from him, is he interested in jumping into a pile of our agency project delivering solutions on WordPress, CMS system for clients and customers? He said, no, I am filled with jobs, with projects. I don't want to do anything with WordPress and similar. And what happened after 1.5 months later, one project he was handling on his own was done, concluded, and the second job went downstream. So he was contacting me back and asking to jump in the same projects which he refused 2 months ago. So that is the initial topic and generally the outline, which I would be happy to discuss about today.
So you were talking about runway, right?
Yep.
So they can see the runway in the next 6 months, and I mean I did that. So we and when you actually need to use that part of the runway, it actually turns out to be, just painted sand and quicksand for good measure, right? Yep. So last time we talked about client confidence. Today we were talking about the negotiation confidence of the experts themselves, right? Now, the difference from the standard practice of just about any commoditized service is that usually, at least in my experience, need for expertise can oscillate even more, can go up and down even more than, the need for waiters is greater in the summer months, sure, but that's very, very predictable. So it literally has cycles, right? The need for plumbers is basically always here. The need for car washes is more so there's a fairly predictable pattern of that. That's not the same with many of the expertise-based service businesses. Some of them have a constant, like I don't know, maybe dentists, or lawyers, but others don't have patterns like that. So um, they're more dependent on projects, so people wanting to change something, which has a curse attached to it, which is, well, I can do it later, right? If you're getting sued, you're getting sued. That's okay. But you know, a new website, well, we could do it next year, right? I mean, what's gonna happen? I mean, something is gonna happen, but they don't necessarily see it, or they don't see it as important as dealing with whatever is happening right now. So I always say that experts have an additional additional competition in the phrase "not now," right? Maybe the status quo is good enough. Whatever we're doing now, we're obviously still alive, right? So why? And that can be hard to push through sometimes. Anyway, it's called it has been talked about many times, is the feast famine cycle, or catch a bear, eat a bear, right? And the problem is that as you said, you know, somebody who is too sure of themselves and applying the logic of well, they should know this, it's basic, right, about stuff that they know to their clients. And like you said in your example, you know, saying, well, you want me to work on this, well, that makes no sense, right? The client doesn't usually see why it makes no sense. To them, it makes all the same amount of sense as before. And then having these standards is, I mean, having standards is great, but applying your standards to your client is not, and not explaining it, you come off as cocky, as you said, right? You come off as abrasive, as hard to work with. And then since we tend to work on bigger projects rather than many projects, then something slips up, and something always slips up, and then you're back. And now you have it's completely clear that you're hungry, that you have basically no, you need this to go through. Maybe this is not the only one, but you're talking to like 2 people, not 60, right? So each of them has and can tell that they have an outside influence on what are you going to eat this year, right? And that's what Blair Enns calls, I think it's him, the stench of desperation. They can tell. It's fairly easy to see when somebody needs the deal to come through, and then they know they have all of the negotiation power in the world. And this is how, because projects get canceled as well, not started, right? This is how people burn out, because they don't want to go through this again. So they go and talk to 2 potential clients, and they both say yes. And now you're overcommitted. So you're probably going to underperform, or it's going to tax your mental health and your physical health and your family life and whatever. This is how people burn out. And I understand it. I mean, you don't want to go through that again, right? And sometimes you still do. Anyway, I said hungry. I don't mean literally hungry, although it's a fun fact. There's literally research that we can actually link to in the show comments that shows that you should never negotiate when you're literally hungry. I mean, not like you haven't eaten for days. I mean, like you haven't eaten for the first half of the afternoon. But if you're hungry, research shows that you attach more ego cost to outcomes. You're more abrasive, you're harder to work with. And as a result, hungry negotiators get strictly worse results. But what we are actually talking about here is metaphorically hungry, so desperate, let's say, or close to. That is, you can't really negotiate with your back against the wall. If you're ever in a position where you have to negotiate, and you can't afford to lose, that's not negotiation, right? You go with the, I think it was the Roman saying of the strong take what they want, the weak suffer what they must, right?
Yeah.
The only advice that I can give to people who are at the moment forced to negotiate like that is to not to promise 100% of their potential. So not 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 4.5 days a week, but not 5. You need some potential left so that while you're working this off, because this was forced on you, you still have at least one hand ready to grasp something much better, something that will finance enough freedom for you to buy another half day.
Exactly.
And then you use that time to free up 2 additional days, and then you're breathing again, right? And yeah, so
that is a good point, because people have the tendency when they're close to the edge, they're accepting any case and scenario because they need to convert, they need that deal, but they need to have a redundancy plan and exit plan, because the situation which is in front of them, it's temporary, and people need to understand that is a moment. Everything goes in business in waves. You have a good wave, you had a bad wave. You had a good day, you have a bad day. And that is called life. So play accordingly, organize well, and always have redundancy plus exit plan. And in addition to that, very important, communication-wise is never communicate neediness, no matter how hard the situation is. That is very important.
Because it will only get worse. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It only makes it worse. Sorry, did you want to say something else?
No, that is the idea. You simply open up through your mentions.
People ask me if I really need this, how do I negotiate anything but 100%, right? It's actually, the situation is fairly conducive to it. It's fairly, it shouldn't be hard to do this, because when they feel like they have a great negotiation power, or a great deal of negotiation power over you, they're going to ask for discounts, which you will have to grant to get the job, right? But once they ask for discounts, you can still say, right, I could technically do that, but I still have a small amount that I have to that I already promised to somebody else at a higher rate. So I can give you that rate for the rest of the time, but that time needs to stay, right? And you can commit and say, I'll do 5 days of work in 4.5. It's fine, right? It's not an easily quantifiable, easily understood kind of a job like digging a hole, right? You absolutely can do, if you apply yourself, do what somebody else would do in 5 days and 4 days, right? You can say that, and you get that, and you get this. But Fridays, you don't get to ask me where I am and what I'm doing. Everything else is whatever you like, right? And usually that's going to be like whatever, because you already gave them the price and this and that. But then later on, you have the capacity to get yourself out of that situation. And it's much better to try and get clients for like thirds of your time than halves, because if one half gets canceled, the other half is usually not enough for you to live on. And if a third gets canceled, usually you can get by while you get the next third. So that's like a minimum of project that is healthy. That, so I'm speaking from personal experience. On this, I found that the 3 clients and up is healthy, and it's absolutely better once you get to they can be smaller projects, don't get me wrong, they can be much smaller projects, but now I'm currently at 30 to 50 projects a year, so no client actually commands a significant part of my annual income.
Exactly.
So no client usually maintains the illusion for long that they have an outside negotiation power over me, because, you know, I would like to have you as a client. That sounds great. If we're a good fit, if you're going to be happy and I'm going to be happy, and that's fine, right? But these are not bosses. These are clients, right? So each of them commands 3 to 5% of my annual income, not 100% or 95%, and that makes all the difference, right?
Yeah, you're practically eliminating or at least mitigating the risk and distributing it accordingly. Also, one example, one of my colleagues, friends and business partners, who is a developer, he got in a crazy stage in which he was initially as a freelancer working on 7 to 8 projects roughly on a monthly basis, but simply situation and business stuck, and he chose 100% dedication to one client. From that point on, he was not closed, but he was locked in scenario with that one client, and he was hard to run away from that situation because there were no alternatives, there were no exit plans, redundancy, or whatever. So instead of staying maybe a month or two, he stayed for a 1.5 years in that arrangement. And in that process, you can only calculate what is the opportunity cost of overall structure. All those connections, dedication to building the community connections, business-wise and everything, simply went to clouds after that 1.5 years, because all people who even wanted to work with him forgot about it, and he was stuck in their heads. He's not available. Why? Because he's dedicated to that one project and nobody needed him. That is very problematic, especially for a person who is a freelancer, standalone, expert and professional, who definitely needs to have more than one client, distributing properly risk and managing, optimizing his resources for business continuity and everything else.
Absolutely. Let's try and help you here. So what advice would you give to somebody that is in that situation and wants to get out?
In that situation, there is one pretty much strong one. It is crazy as hell. I'm saying from my direct practice. I was in that situation, and what I did, I closed the doors with that one client. Why? Because I knew immediately when you close one thing, new doors will immediately open up, and you don't have the alternative. So you have zero income. What you can do? Just strive and push and run forward. That is the harder way, definitely. More easier kind of way is to immediately look for the alternatives, trying to lower the engagement with the existing client and customer. That is kind of more acceptable to majority of people, not potentially so damaging. I was practically doing a leap of faith that could happen otherwise, and that would be a shit show. Luckily, it didn't turn out that way. I was lucky enough in the end, because you always have that component of luck in the business, and I found a way, open 3 or 4 new additional opportunities, simply being proactive, fast-paced, and out there, especially after closing those doors.
The problem with burning the ship you're on, right? That's the pirate tactic, right? Because otherwise it's very risky to swing on the other ship and attack it. But if yours is burning, then actually the survival move is to jump, right, and be brave. So the problem with that is that you have to be able to afford it. If you were pressured into this bad deal, which happens, and then it's highly unprofitable, you sometimes can't get out of it that way, because you would have to borrow money to pay rent. And sometimes you can't even do that because it's so unprofitable that your credit cards are maxed out and this and that, right? So in that case, I would probably start with networking. There are networking groups either near you or far from you because of Corona that meet at times which are not normal working times at all. So at night or in the morning or this and that, and try to get some engagements there, and then use those engagements to free a little bit so money from that engagements, which are much more profitable than this one, which is not hard because this one is so unprofitable, to free to free a little space in your week. So you say, okay, listen, I've been doing this for a while. I've gotten much better at this, right? And you're still paying me the same. Now, I know what you'll say. You'll say you can't pay me more. That's fine. That's fine. Pay me the same, but for 1 day less. You know, and I know I'm more efficient. You're going to get more in these 4 days than you used to get in the 5 days before. You're probably going to get more in these 4 days than in 10 days that you have gotten from me a few years ago or a year ago, right? Because now I'm completely into this. I know all of the details, right? So don't pay me more, pay me the same, just for a lesser amount of work, because you're getting more value out of it anyway.
Yeah,
it's fairly hard for them to say no to that. Now you have an opening. Now you can use that time to actually accrue more profit, to have enough financial stability that you can actually burn the bridge, like you said, right? Or if that doesn't work, double down on networking, double down on maybe some charity work, or you know, other ways, maybe some content, other ways of you getting to more clients, right? But that's the idea. The ideal is that if you have something, you know, a financial springboard that you can do a leap of faith, as you said, that's absolutely great. I've been in situations where I didn't, so this is basically what I did, right? I had an additional let's say motivation of wanting to be done with work at 3 o'clock p.m. because my father was in the hospital for a long time, and that was the visitation hour, and it was very strict, right? So I arranged it that way that I don't have to work after 3. I started at 6, but then the visitations were over in an hour, and I found myself with the afternoon free, right? And using that potential, I managed to get more clients and get the one client to a third, and then later to get rid of them altogether. I had nothing against working for them, but that was highly unprofitable compared to anything else, because they acquired me back when my first company went under, and I was basically happy to get anything. And once you get in a relationship like that, it's very hard for them to start valuing you properly, right? Because in their head, you're still the same guy, although years have gone by and this and that. So anyway, I hope this theme of cycles of internal confidence and how to get more confidence so that you can get better deals is what was effective. Did we go through this? Well, from my side, I think that's it. Do you have some examples or something you can add?
I would only add on one thing. You helped me remind that specific moment and the idea which I would emphasize to help the audience. It is very important in the conversation about business cooperation to dig deeper and get better insight from the potential client, the prospect perspective, what they're valuing the most. Meaning, look for those who are focused not on time, but on the actual results. So you also have, on the other hand, the free time without micromanagement. So the only thing important for them is to deploy the service, the product on time, not in this specific time frame of a day, in a week, and similar, but those people who are focused on the end result according to the promised deadlines. And that is something which can also help in extracting you potentially from the situations in which you've stuck with kind of the client perspective and similar, because as you mentioned previously, you have that small batch of time which you can tweak and use to find a better deal and the alternative which can drag you out from the crazy situation.
Yeah. So I've been saying this for a while. Expertise is at its best when it's held in high regard.
Yeah.
Right. When it's respected.
Exactly.
That's when you get the most out of it. So that can be I think our next topic, but I think that's a good conclusion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we went through this. I simply want to emphasize this is true probably for most service professions, but I think it's because of the size of projects, which is greater, but also the infrequency of projects and the instability of projects, because you can always do it next year. I think this applies more to swans than to ducks, more to experts than to commoditized services, right?
Yeah.
Right. Philip, where can people find you?
People can find me on LinkedIn because I'm constantly there, and on my agency page, maoyo.agency, and my consultancy practice, maoyo.consulting. Cool.
People can also find me on LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube channel called Fearless Pricing, and soon an active TikTok account as well. But it all leads to the same place, and I'm always happy to accept and answer questions based on pricing, value communication, or negotiation. Cool. Everybody, thanks for being here and witnessing all of this content. We hope this is as useful for you as it is for us.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you. Bye bye.